Hello and welcome to the Non-Inkables podcast. We are on episode number 11 and we are 2 weeks into set championships and lots of things have been happening. So this past week, the biggest news was the Bucky errata. I made a whole video about that, so take a look. And since I've had some time to kind of marinate with that and think about it and talk to other people, I think that, overall, I think it's a good choice because we are playing a card game and it's not fun playing a card game when you don't have cards. It kind of defeats the whole purpose. And I've heard from a lot of people that they don't like playing a game where they don't get to make decisions. So when you have no cards, you just play whatever you draw. So you're not really making any decisions, which is kind of the fun part of card games. And a lot of people raised up, like, why did they just make him pretty much unusable versus why didn't they just ban the card outright? And I don't know. I think maybe because an artist worked on his art and did art on him, they don't want to just ban the card. And then I think it may also make people try to think of different ways to use different shift mechanics. So for example, right now when people play Bucky on, say, 2, often on 3, they'll play the Floodborn Aladdin. And that Aladdin, you can shift, but you have to discard a location card. And even when that card came out, it was like, why would anyone want to shift that Aladdin and not just pay the 3 ink? Because 3 ink isn't that expensive. And so maybe if Bucky costs 3, then to play that Aladdin on 3, you would have to shift. So I don't know, just an idea. And maybe we don't know what cards are going to come out. So it may be that the Bucky discard thing was going to get a lot worse with whatever new mechanics that they're going to publish. And so this kind of future-proofs him. And I think the reason why Bucky was specifically targeted out of all the cards that people say should be targeted, like I've heard Queen's Castle, Hero Box, is because I think Bucky just made the game not fun to play. So if you are a competitive player and you're playing against Bucky, you see them put down Bucky and you're just like, oh, okay, this is kind of going to suck. But I have prepped for this and I know how to play around that, right? If you are a good player. If you don't know how to play around it, then it's not fun. If you're a casual player, just kind of playing just like for fun, and you play against Bucky like in League or something, or just against friends as a casual thing, then it's not fun because it's just not fun. You don't get to play any cards, and it's a card game. You want to play cards. So overall, I think it's a good thing. I've also seen a lot of dramatics, I think, in terms of some of the Discord conversations of people who are playing Green Seal who are now going to quit the whole game because they can't do Bucky discard. And I feel like Emerald has so many cool things it could do, and it was just overshadowed by Bucky, and now maybe people will explore all the other cards that aren't getting used in Emerald and create an even cooler, funner deck. So yeah. So that is the major news. There were also some other cards released, which I will talk about in a different video, talking about cards. And so last week on the YouTube channel, there was the Bucky video, and then there was also TCG Terms Part 2. So part of my series where I talk about terms that people say when they've been playing TCGs a long time and they don't even realize they're talking in lingo and a different language. And so I translate some of the most common ones that I've heard. And I already have enough terms for a 3rd video. We've been hanging out a lot with a local player, Gary, who has been, I don't know, he's played like every card game that I've heard of and was on like Magic Pro and, I don't know, Dragon Ball Z and basically all of them, and has been playing card games for like, I don't know, 20 years. And so sometimes he'll say things and I'm just like, what are you saying? Yeah. So for this past week, we went to 1 constructed competition and then 2 set champs. The constructed competition we went to is our new local game, new to us, but probably our like regular game store competition that we're probably going to be going to. So it's because it's at a good time for us. It's like Friday nights, but it's at like 5 o'clock Friday nights. So it doesn't end super late. And it's always best of 3 rounds, Swiss constructed. I ended up placing 3rd out of 9. My record was 2-1. The top person was 3-0, and then the other person was 2-1 as well. I think Brian finished 5th. I took my Ruby Amethyst deck and I played one mirror, and it was against someone who is pretty new. So I feel like piloted the deck similar to how I used to pilot the deck, maybe in like set 2 and set 3. I do feel that in the past, maybe like few weeks, my playing level has gone up significantly to where I feel like I've like jumped in levels in terms of how I play, which is kind of exciting. And then I had a bye, so that didn't really count. And then I also played against this green steel. We kept calling him the jank deck because he was like green steel, but not like the pure Bucky discard. He also had like Curse Merfolk and Flynn Rider, and then also Prince Dawn, and was like both aggro and discard, which for me is my two least favorite decks to play. And it got out of hand so fast. Let me look at the records. It was, yeah, I didn't even record the scores, but it was just so fast. I was like, oh, should I scoop now on turn 4? You're going to quest for 12 with your 3 Curse Merfolk? Yeah. So, but it was still pretty fun. I feel like the vibes of the place are good and everyone is really fun. They play Disney music during, so that's kind of a little sing-along. I think just for me, I'm the only person singing along, but it's super fun. So we really like going to that store. Saturday, we played Set Champs at Games of Martinez, which is where I won last set. And I ended up placing 8th out of 25. So on Saturday, we played 6 rounds of Swiss. It was best of 3. Wait, that's a lie. That's from the previous week. Wrong one. We played 5 rounds of Swiss, and it was best of 3. The first person I played was a Sapphire Steel, and I won very easily both times. So I think the first game I was at 18 lore, they were at 4. I was on the draw. The second game I was on the draw, and I got to 20 lore, and they were still at 4. It was an interesting Sapphire Steel. It was a Sapphire Steel without wheel, and it just ramped with Great Stone Dragon. And I think they just saw no draws. So the first game they had a Hiram, but then I brawled it. So then they had no draw. And then the second game they didn't see any Hirams. And so there wasn't really, they kind of tried to ramp with Fishbone Quill, but then just had no cards in hand. The second round I played Sapphire Steel, but I played Tyler, the other person on our team. So the person who knocked me out of top 8 last weekend at VPC. So I played him in Swiss and I lost both games, but I was very close. So game 1, I was on the draw. I got to 18, he was at 13, and then he had 2 lucky times, so I lost. The second game I was on the play, and I think I got to 12, and then kind of stalled out, and he got control of the board, and then I think lucky timed to 20. But much closer this time, so it's pretty exciting. And then round 3, I played a purple steel deck. It wasn't a Jafar wheel. I think it was, I want to say kind of more aggro-y purple steel. I won 2-0. I think I was on the draw both times, and I just had better removal. So I kind of controlled the early game, prevented them from like running away, and then I just quested and controlled. My 4th round was with Ruby Amethyst, and it was the same person I'd played the day before at VPC, and he had somehow gotten like a lot better in the course of one day. So the first game I was on the draw and I lost. It was 4-18. So I think he got a Flynn that I couldn't deal with. And then the second game I was on the play and it was 18-2. And then the last game I was on the draw and it was like 20-15. So that was very exciting. Round 5, I was able to intentionally draw, which has never happened to me before. But it was like the top 8 were guaranteed to get in if you intentionally drew. And then if you didn't intentionally draw, there was a chance that you could get like bumped out of top 8. And I think that had happened last set champs at one of the local competitions where somebody could have intentionally drew and instead they played and then they did top 8, but they were knocked out. And so I was like, oh, well, I don't want to like lose my spot. So then I intentionally drew, which I feel like such a hypocrite because set championships last time I was like, I wouldn't intentionally draw. I just want to play the game. But I was tired. And I was like, oh, if I intentionally draw, I can definitely get in. If I don't, I might not. I was like, well, then I'm definitely going to intentionally draw. And so I intentionally drew. And then our top 8 was pretty diverse. So we had 2 Emerald Steel, 2 Steel Song, which was unexpected. I did not think we were going to get any Steel Song. And then 1 Blue Steel, 1 Jafar Wheel, 1 Ruby Emerald, and then me, the only Ruby Amethyst. The Ruby Emerald player always plays Ruby Emerald. He's the one I played in finals last set, and his deck was like a lot of evasives. And then the Jafar Wheel is the one that I had played at Victory Point last week, who did the like whole new world with 7 cards left in his deck. Blue Steel was Tyler from our team, and the 2 Steel Song, I think, were kind of more out of town people that we hadn't met before. And then Emerald Steel was 2 local people. So in the quarterfinals, I matched up with Tyler again. So it was a repeat, just like Victory Point Cafe the previous week. And he knocked me out again. But I did win 1 game again. So first game, I was on the draw, but I won because he didn't get any draw. The second game, I was on the draw and I lost. I only got to 6 lower. And then the last game, I was on the play and we were both 14-14. And then he whole new worlded into like a bunch of items and then Tamatoa and then Lucky Time. So yeah, knocked out by my teammate once again. And he felt so bad and I was like, it's okay. It's okay. It'll be funny for the podcast story that I tell. Yeah. And so that, knocked out a top 8 again. But I made it to top 8, so that was pretty exciting. The next day, so Sunday, we played at Phantomich, and I placed 6th out of 18. And there we played 5 rounds of Swiss with a best of 3. The first person I played is someone I played last set champs at Phantomich. And I distinctly remember his deck because he was playing Ruby Steel last set, and it was like a Sheriff of Nottingham with Bayou and like Cinderella and Simba, where it was like, when you play this character, draw a card, discard a card, and then Sheriff of Nottingham, if you discard a card, you get to put 1 damage on something. And then Bayou was like, if you quest, you get to draw a card, discard a card. So like that kind of combo. This time he was playing Amber Ruby, and it was kind of aggressive. It had like the play injured characters heal with Rapunzel thing, but it also had Baloo, the bodyguard, where when he gets banished, you get like 2 lore, 3 lore or something. It had Pooh, Piglet, Captain. Yeah, but it was an interesting deck. I won 2-0, and both times I was able to double Queen's Castle, so that was very helpful. The first game, he had 17 lore when I got to 20, and then the second game, he was literally at 19 lore, and I was able to get rid of his characters and go to 20 with my Queen's Castle. The next round, I played a mirror against Gary, the super pro Magic player. The first game, I went first, and I won. It was 20-6, and I think it was his deck hated him. He had like a lot of pre-prepareds and stuff. The second game, I was on the draw. My deck hated me. He won, and I only had 2 lore. The third game, I was on the play, and I was so close to winning, and then just stumbled at the finish line. So I got to 17, and I got to 15 lore, and he was at 0, and then he clawed his way back. So I only made it to 17 lore, and then I couldn't get any more lore. He just got rid of anything I played, and I couldn't draw a goat to save my life. I had, I think, like at least 2 goats still left in my deck, and just couldn't draw him at all. And so he won. And I think part of it was I totally forgot that I'd taken out one of my Maleficents to put in an extra Tremaine. And so I inked some Maleficents I probably shouldn't have, and probably didn't protect my rabbits enough. And I should know better. The next game I played was another mirror match, or the next round. And that one, my opponent won the dice roll, but chose to go second, which was weird. And then the first game, I was on the play and was able to get my Flynn out Sisu quest. They couldn't really do much, and then I top decked a goat to win. It was 20 versus 6. And then the second game, I was on the draw, and based on the points, it looks like I was just able to quest every turn, or I had a castle or something, and my opponent only got to 2. So I think they just played, they controlled, but didn't quest or something. I don't know. Yeah, and then my third round was also a mirror. I was on the draw, and I was playing against the person I played last set champs at Martinez in the semifinal. He plays Ruby Amethyst, but I don't think he's played really since Atlanta. And he is I would say, slow player in general. And so in the 50 minutes, we finished 1 game. And like halfway through that game, I was like, how much time do you have? And they're like, 20 minutes. And I was like, oh. And they're like, what game are you guys on? And we're like, 1. And I think almost everyone else had already finished their games. And so I was like, oh, geez, I really got to win this game because it might be the only one. And we were pretty equal on lore until about, let's say, he was ahead of me on lore until like about 9. And then I got ahead by like 2 lore and then just was able to keep going. Yeah. And then round 5, I got to ID again. So we went and got dinner, which was pretty cool. And I think for that one, the top 6 could ID. And then the 7th and 8th, there were a bunch of people, like maybe 6 people who were on the bubble, including Brian. Unfortunately, his tiebreakers were the worst. So even though he 2-0'd the person, he didn't make it. And then in the quarterfinals, I was matched with the Jafar wheel deck. So the quarterfinals for Phantom Edge had 2 Ruby Amethyst, 3 Sapphire Steels, 1 Amber Steel, and 1 Jafar wheel. Oh, I forgot to mention, for the Games of Martinez one, the finals ended up being Tyler, our teammate who's playing Blue Steel, versus Amber Steel, and Amber Steel won. I also forgot to mention, Games of Martinez, there was this weird, I wouldn't say weird, there was an Amber Steel deck that was playing Golden Harp, and all of us were like, what is this card? But it's like the 1-drop, I think 1/4 quest for 2, but if you don't play a song, she dies or she gets banished. And so their game plan is like to whole new world into the harps and then play the harps. And then the next turn they can quest for 6, like play 3 harps and then quest for 6 and then play another song and they survive. I don't remember if that was the first place Amber Steel deck. I think it was a different Amber Steel deck that won. Okay, so back to Phantom Edge on Sunday. So I played the Jafar wheel and their deck loved them. So first game, I lost the die roll. First game I was on the draw and they Jafar wheeled super early. Like I think turn 4, turn 5. They shifted, Jafar wheeled, and then it was kind of over for me. The second game I was on the play and I got to 20 lore, they didn't even quest. It was great for me. I was able to basically get rid of everything they had. I think they didn't have a 1-drop or something, and then everything else I could be King Undisputed or just trade. And then the third game, I was on the draw. I got to 5 lore, and then even before that. I was at 3 lore, they're at 5 lore. They did a Jafar wheel. And then I didn't have anything to get rid of their Jafar on, I think it was like turn 4. And then they top decked another whole new world. And then I think that whole new, yeah. And And I think so. 2 wheels and I was done for. And I know that they played the other Ruby Amethyst because the other Ruby Amethyst was Gary. And they played him in semifinals and their deck did not like them against Gary. Also, Gary was running Peter Pan's Shadow, so he was able to take out their Jafar with a Fox and a Peter Pan Shadow. And then the finals was Tyler playing Sapphire Steel and Gary won. Tyler said he drew like the worst. I think he said he played like an Argus and then a Mickey Mouse Detective and then a Hiram and then a Mickey Mouse Detective and then was like top decking and got like Mickey Mouse Detective, Mr. Smee. So it was pretty bad for him draw-wise. So in the end, Gary won with Ruby Amethyst. So I ended up being 6th and then Brian ended up being 10th. He took Emerald Steel to Phantomich, and then, or no, to Games of Martinez on Saturday, and then at Phantomich he switched to a purple steel deck, which he's still kind of working out and tinkering with before we go to Fort Worth this weekend. Yeah. So it was interesting when we played at Phantomich, there was only one Emerald Steel deck, and everybody else had switched. So Brian switched to purple steel. The guy who was playing, Mike, who was playing the Emerald Steel, like half aggro, half discard deck, he switched to amber steel. And then there was a lot of ruby and amethyst. Okay, so that is the summary of set championships for this weekend. I made it to top 8 twice. Once I got knocked out by my own teammate, which is okay, whatever. He says that next time if we meet in top 8 again, he's just going to concede and let me win, which is great, except I feel like that means I'm never going to see him in top 8 for the rest of the set championships, especially because I'm not even going to be at the next 2 to go to. And then, but I do feel, I mean, reflecting, like top 8, I feel like is great in terms of placing, but also I think even though I didn't make it to top 4, it kind of feels like when you get like a 4th place when they're giving out like gold, silver, and bronze medals, it feels kind of like that, like you just missed it. I still feel like that making it to top 8 3 times is a pretty big accomplishment. It means that I'm actually consistently doing pretty good, not just lucky. And I do think that everyone this time is better. Like everyone is much more skilled. I think last time when we played in set champ, like last time we played, the table next to me they were playing and they were like asking the judge basically how cards worked. Like there were some people who were at that level. And this time I feel like everyone at least knew how to play. Yesterday at set championships, one of the people in the top 8, she was playing Sapphire Steel, and this is like her first TCG, her first tournament. So that was really exciting. And I was like, go girls. Yeah, so I'm really excited. We have 2 more left this month, the last weekend, since this coming weekend we're going to the challenge. And so hopefully it will be a good result and I won't be at the same place as Tyler, so he won't get an option to knock me out of the top 8 again. Just so funny. And yeah, okay, so like I mentioned before, I feel like my ability in playing has gone up significantly, and I attribute a lot of that to the 20 lore Discord and the people in that. So, No I'm Not, also known as Kendall, released a primer. It's like $5, and it goes over like basic like I think kind of like fundamentals of how to play Ruby Amethyst, and then specific matchups for the meta and like what you would mulligan and what your plan is. And then that motivated Elrathion, another member, to write this like 50-page thing about Ruby Amethyst. And that just those 2 resources have been so helpful. Just in terms of thinking about how to play different decks, what the decks are trying to do, and like seeing different lines of play. I think before people would say like, oh, what are the lines of play? And I'd be like, I don't know what that means. But now I feel more like when I see my cards, I'm like, okay, these are the cards I have. I could either do this, the next couple turns, or I could do this, or I want to ink this, but I don't want to ink this because I want to use this later in case they have like, I don't want to ink my fox or my crab because what if they have like a Queen's Castle in a few turns? I want to be able to get rid of that, or I'm like, okay, I have like 2 rabbits and some friends and a Maleficent. I can probably ink the Maleficent, things like that, because I want to play this, or like, oh, I'm going to mulligan this because I already have what I want to play on turn 4, So it's I think I just think so much more in depth when I play, like I'm thinking further ahead than before, and that is exciting. So if you are not on the 20 lore Discord, I would definitely join. They have channels for all the different color combos, and they are all pretty active. And you just find the deck discussion channel, and then you click on the deck that has the same colors as yours, and then you can learn from people. And then people do a lot of discussion. Like they will discuss, like, for example, in Ruby Amethyst, they've been discussing, like, do we run Peter Pan or do we run Pegasus, the evasive Ruby one, to deal with Diablo? Or, there's like a lot of like, oh, do we run a hook? And then like, what if, like, some people are like, oh, I want to run crabs, but like, I don't want to decrease the number of like tremaines I have, And it's a lot of like discussing, and people will share their results about how they did at set championships and what worked for them, what didn't work for them. And then I know that's how kind of Blue Steel, they decided to do like Argus to combat Flynn for Ruby, because Argus is a 4/1 and it also trades with Sisu. It's so annoying. It's such a good card for them, but very annoying. And then it's like, oh, if they're going to run that, maybe we should start running Teen Ambitions again. It's just interesting. And so I think that the Tony Lore one has the most active discussions, but it is because they're so active. If you don't check in regularly, then you have like so many to read through. And sometimes you're just like, you know what? I'm just going to skip it. Pass. Okay, other news is Pixelborn Connect is up. So there's Rank Play Season 1. It goes from July 12th to August 9th, which is when Set 4 is released and when Bucky is no more. There's both hardcore ranked and normal ranked. And they're also going to have like physical rewards for the top 5 on both ladders. And you can also rate your opponent on their attitude and their camera setup. Unfortunately, the Mac version doesn't work yet, so you can only play it on PC. I have not played yet, but I don't know. It's just so much harder to like sit down and play real cards on webcam compared to just playing Pixelborn. It was so easy. I could take my computer around and play and do other stuff. Or like, and like people wouldn't hear all the background noise. And then Real Play Connect ended their Season 0 and now has Season 1, which is called, funnily, Ode to a Squirrel. I think that's hilarious. And that goes until August 8th. And then they got rid of their casual queue because people were just not really using it. And then they changed, I'm going to say some words, I don't know what they mean, MMR decay from 7 days to 5 days. And basically it just means that you will need to work harder to keep your position in the ranking. I played one game. And so I think I was ranked, which I lost. So I think I was ranked 170 or something like that. Tyler from our team, Non-Inkables Batsu, ended up placing 5th with an ELO of 1249 and a record of 31 wins, 11 losses. I think he plays a lot more. He says he plays usually at nighttime when his daughter goes to bed. So that is it for summary of the past week, super busy week. This upcoming week, we're going to Fort Worth Challenge. I'm so excited. This is our first challenge. If you see us, come say hi. I'm currently working on some stick. And yeah, the goal for the challenge is to get that Cinderella mat. That's all I want. I just want to get the Cinderella mat. Today, signups go up for all the side events. And they're actually having side events on the Friday. So there's like early check-in, and then they have like a sealed and a constructed tournament. So we're probably going to sign up for sealed because I think it's a better deal because you get packs. So the sealed events are $46 and the constructed events are $30. So I feel like the sealed event is more worth it in terms of you get 6 packs of cards. And so like that's already way more than the additional $16. And I think it's interesting, like we're going to play constructed in the main challenge. So it'll be fun to play something different and use different cards. So we're going to do that. And then, I don't have high hopes for challenge. I'm here to have fun, to play games. I don't think I'm going to make it to like top 64 or whatever. So I'm going to sign up for a bunch of stuff on Sunday as well. Obviously, if I make it, then I'll just drop those, I guess. But I don't know about that. We'll see. I'm going to do some more practice this week. I'm also going to try to help Brian figure out his deck because I think he's going to do purple steel. And yeah, that is the plan. Just lots of practice for Fort Worth. I see it as more practice for set championships. And then do as the best we can. That's all we can do, right? Try to get that Cinderella mat. We're bringing like a bunch of stuff to trade, like enchanteds and some of the high promo like foil cards and like promo cards, because we have a lot of the promo cards. Just because because we go to a lot of stores that get the organized play stuff, but they don't necessarily have league. And so usually it's like if you place in the top 4, you get a promo card kind of thing. And so We have a lot of promo cards. So we're hoping that people will want to trade tickets for those, and then we can get that mat. So that is the goal. I don't know what YouTube video I'm going to put out this week. I think before I was thinking about doing one about the levels, but I need to do more research before I can publish that. So we'll see. I may do another terms video because I still have more terms that I would like to talk about. And then we'll probably do some new cards. Yeah. And then we're really kind of building out our team here. So right now it's me, Brian, and Tyler. And then we probably will add Gary to practice with, since he's such a pro. I cannot say enough. It's like I was playing with him and he was like, oh, well, you know that based on the fact that I've inked this and I've played like, I've had 14 cards in my hand, like this many in my inkwell, this many in my hand, this many in my discard, that the probability of blah, blah, blah is this and remaining in the deck. And I was like, what? You're doing math? I was like, oh, okay. It's good. I think it's good to play with. It's always good to play with people who are better than you. You do lose a lot, but they help you improve. And you see like what the next level could be, or the next level, you know? And so Gary, and then we also have some other people in the local community who want to practice. Because I think with Pixelboard and Gone, like you got to get your test group together and test stuff. And we're all planning to try to go to Las Vegas and then Seattle. And so we're going to be doing a lot of stuff prior to that. And one of the guys, John, he's like, oh, you should stream your games. And I was like, oh, I'm going to get so embarrassed. Everyone's going to see my misplays. But I guess it's a learning experience and I need to get over that. So yeah, we may stream some games in the future once we have the setup, like the cage thingy. And then we just need to figure out all the attachments and sound and all that stuff. But yeah, lots to come. Our TCG store, I think, is closed right now because we're going to challenge and we don't want like people to order and then us not fill it. But it will be open back. It will open it back up after challenge. Yeah, so that's it. As always, keep shuffling. Hopefully you don't end up with a whole handful of non-inkables like me. And if you see me at Fort Worth, come say hi. I will be very awkward and yeah. A little postscript. I forgot to talk about this. Lorcana is going to be in Chinese, which I'm so excited about. I hope that, well, I'm definitely going to get Chinese cards. It'll make me probably read more Chinese. And then hopefully I kind of want to get my parents into it. I think my dad would really like it. I also think my dad would be like up late at night working on his decks and he would just smoke us all. It seems like, well, okay, either that is going to happen if he gets really into it, or he's going to be like, this is stupid and childish. I'm going to go back to playing Go or Chinese chess or something, or chess. He's a super smart guy. And growing up, he would never let us win at games. We would have to like earn the wins, which I think is a good lesson. But also like sometimes you're just like, I just don't want to play with you anymore. So yeah. And then maybe I'm like, oh, maybe I could get like my cousins into it in China. And we could play on webcam. Oh, it could be a whole thing. It would be so exciting. So yeah, it's very exciting that they're going to be releasing it in China. And I did know that this was happening because I had looked up jobs at Ravensburg at some point and they were looking for like translators. And I was like, oh, I wish I could do that, except I don't know any TCG terms both in English or in Chinese. And my Chinese is, I think, pretty good for somebody who moved to America when they were really young, but it's not great. Like I'm fluent speaking and I can probably read at like, I don't know, like 4th grade level, maybe. And writing, I feel like it's a little iffy, but if I'm writing on a phone, it's easier because you could write it phonetically or you could even dictate it, which I think helps. But yeah, I was like, oh, this would be great. Then I could like practice my Chinese. So I'm very excited for that. That's it. That's the postscript. All right. For real this time.